In Minecraft, players have created hundreds of automatic farms, created to make anything from crops to XP, but all these farms have one thing in common. They're all made to be as efficient as possible. After all, why would you intentionally make your farm worse? Well, that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to be testing farms that get progressively worse as the video goes on. So I think it's time to find out, what is the worst farm in Minecraft? Before we start, let's set some clear rules. In order for an idea to be considered a farm, it needs to make a profit. This means that you can't just make a dispenser throwing netherite blocks into a cactus. The second rule is that it needs to be automatic. Having to occasionally refill the farm is okay, but it can't rely 100% on the player being active. Okay, now that we have that out of the way, we can start thinking. So the first farm that came to mind when I was making that intro was the wool farm. This farm is extremely slow, and the items you get are not particularly useful. There is just one problem with this farm. It's just too good. While it might be slow by itself, you can make tons of these farms and speed up the production, and it costs very little to create this farm, so it isn't actually that inefficient. And so I went back to the drawing board. My second idea was something that would take even longer to produce. You see, amethyst is actually a renewable item. It takes approximately 2.5 hours to fully grow, and by attaching this contraption, we are able to make this an AFKable farm that can produce 1 amethyst per hour. Additionally, the inconvenience of having to do this underground where you have found the geode means that it is even more annoying to build. This farm is inefficient, but there is still one thing that makes this farm somewhat practical. Amethyst is kind of useful. You can use it to make spyglasses, tinted glass, and you can even trim your armor with it. So again, I was forced back to the drawing board. The next farm uses a mechanic that I didn't even know existed. You see, if you put a mushroom on a block and look at it really hard, nothing will happen. But if you keep looking at it with unwavering patience, you'll get another mushroom. As long as the mushroom is in a dark enough area, this process will continue, creating unlimited mushrooms. It takes on average 4 hours to grow 1 mushroom. This is an extremely slow time, and mushrooms are almost useless. So we found it, the slowest farm in Minecraft, right? Do me a favor and look at how far through the video we are. Yeah, nah, we are not even close to finding the worst farm in Minecraft. The speed of a farm doesn't necessarily rely completely on how long it takes something to grow. It also depends on how the farm is built. This means we can intentionally make our farm slower. And so I began building the most cursed farms I could think of. I even asked ChatGPT. What? And after hours of being creative, I built this disgrace of a farm. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys how this farm works. So to turn on the farm, we flick this lever here, and as you can see inside, this lamp will turn off, meaning that this mushroom can then grow. Now it will take on average 8 hours for it to land on this hopper and come through here. Now that mushroom will get dropped onto this. It's 1 in 10 that the mushroom actually lands on the pressure plate. Once the mushroom is on the pressure plate, it will activate this very efficient contraption and turns on this farm. So at this stage, it'll take about 500 hours of AFKing just to produce 1 single sugarcane. Now that sugarcane will come down here into this shulker loader. It needs to fill up this entire shulker box. It'll take about 36,000 real life days for this shulker box to fill up. Once that shulker box gets filled up, it'll drop and get dispensed into here. It'll get pushed up along here. Now it's a 50-50 chance that it doesn't make it past this. But if it does, it'll come down here, go into the hopper, and go into this dropper. Now this dropper has a 1 in 20 chance of landing on this pressure plate. If it doesn't land on the pressure plate, it'll go into this hopper and go back down here, where unwanted items will be disposed of and the shulker box will be returned. Now if the shulker box does activate the pressure plate, it will dispense an egg. Now it's an 8% chance that the egg will spawn a chicken. Now on average it'll take about 15,000 real life years for a chicken to be spawned. Now this chicken will have to wait for a thunderstorm. The chicken will have to stand over this one hopper at the exact moment the lightning randomly strikes it. If the chicken is standing anywhere except for the hopper, then it will die, and then this whole process will have to repeat. Now this means that this process will take approximately 5 million years to produce a single feather. So here it is, the worst farm in Minecraft. It takes 5 million years to produce a single feather. But there is one thing that would make a farm even slower than this. The hopper clock. Slow, impractical, and perfect for this challenge. If we put one of these on a sugarcane farm, well, it won't work because the clock is too fast. But by putting 2 hopper clocks onto a sugarcane farm, it makes one item every 7 hours. But by putting 9 hopper clocks on a sugarcane farm, it makes one sugarcane per 55 trillion years. It's kind of like the world's slowest gear, but in Minecraft. This block has to move back and forth 230 times to move this one once, and that one needs to move 230 times to move the next one once, and so on. The time that it would take to activate the last clock grows so exponentially that if you added just one more clock, it would take 12 quadrillion 650 trillion years, which is insane. But do you know what else is insane? The fact that you haven't subscribed yet. Anyway, because this is so easy to build, and it can keep going forever, that means that the slowest farm in Minecraft would be a clock like this, which is infinitely long. But this farm is kinda boring, so we aren't gonna count it. So what is the worst farm in Minecraft? Well, there isn't really an answer to that, because you can always add more inefficiencies to a farm. This means you can make a farm that takes an infinite amount of time, as long as you have enough time. Thank you for watching.